your selections.
Number 6.
Number 6. O worship the King, O glorious above, and gratefully sing his wonderful love. Our shield and defender, the Ancient of Days, pavilion in splendor, and girded with praise. Your soul, O worship the King, O glorious above, and gratefully sing his wonderful love. Our shield and defender, the Ancient of Days, pavilion in splendor and girded with praise. Oh, tell of his might and sing of his grace, whose throne is thy light to span the space. His chariots of wrath the deep thunder clouds form, and dark is his path on the wings of the storm. Thy bountiful care, what tongue can recite? It breathes in the air, it shines in the light. It streams from the hills, it descends to feeblest frail. In thee do we trust, nor find thee to fail. My mercies how tender, how firm to the end. Our Maker, Defender, Redeemer, and Friend.
540.
540. Jesus, I my cross have taken, all to leave and follow thee. Destitute, despised, forsaken, thou from hence my all shall be. Perish every fond ambition, all I've sought or hoped or known. Yet how rich is my condition, God and heaven are still my own. Jesus, I my cross have taken, all to leave and follow thee. Destitute, despised, forsaken, thou from hence my all shall be. Perish every fond ambition, all I've sought or hoped Take my soul, thy full salvation, rise, O sin and fear and care, joy to find in every station, something still to do or bear. Think what spirit dwells within thee, what a Father's love is thine, what a Savior died to win thee, child of heaven, shouldst thou refine.
8:16.
What was
8:16.
8:16? I'll take yours next. 816. Lead me safely on by the narrow way, from the shores of time to the realms of day. By the cross of Christ may I ever stand, as I journey on to a better land.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I hope your hearts are filled with praise this morning. For a bit of an order of the service, I'll just go to the schedule a little bit again. Justin is going to share on the positive and the negative aspects of social media. After that, we will have children's class for the preschool and primary upstairs. Preschool will be out in the mudroom, primary will be at the kitchen table. And then intermediates, youth, and adults will stay down here, and we'll have a discussion on what Justin shares. And then after Sunday school, Steve will have verses and the offering. And afterwards, I'll come up again, and then the message will be by Mark. Title is kind of maybe a bit of a summary of what we've heard, and also where do we go from here. So let's be praying for them. But this time, we'll turn that over to Justin.
You're going to have to give me a moment. And could I have the lights turned off? Can most everybody see this? So we're looking half-ish, at least half of it. Wait, you only have to see half of it. Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Not sure quite what to say, so since I don't know quite what to say, I'll probably just get right into it. I've been given permission to ignore the clock, so I'm going to take full advantage of that. Since I'm doing positives and the negatives, I think that I can kind of have some liberty. So, I'm going to be talking about first of all, the classification, and then the design and how it affects us, and then also application. So let's get started with classification. Social media is there's so much, and as you can see here, this is a timeline of basically all social media and the different things when it started and where it's going. And it's pretty much a mess. I originally wanted to talk about different companies and stuff, but that's just going to take too much time. So this is basically just for information overload, just to kind of make you think. So let's break down social media into some of its main components. So there's three main components to social media. Direct messaging, which almost all social media has this. You either you text people directly, or you call them, or you video call them, or something like that. That's direct messaging. And then there's status updates or posts, which are somebody posting something that's meant for all of their friends to see. And then one-click reactions, which are let the friends react to whatever somebody else posts. So, studies have shown that direct messaging usually gives off positive effects when it is between two loved ones, and usually when you're texting somebody, it's either because when you're direct messaging somebody, it's either because it's for a specific reason. It's either because you're bored, you want to share information, you want to ask questions. It's one-on-one, and so it's kind of like one-on-one conversation, except it's a diluted kind. And so it's usually positive, a positive way of connecting. So on this, there's a man by the name of Robin Dunbar, And he has a theory which concerns this topic. He's a British anthropologist and evolutionary scientist, evolutionary psychologist at the University of Oxford. He claims that a normal human can only comfortably maintain about 150 current stable relationships. He concludes that this is due to the size of a human's neocortex, which is the part of the brain involved in higher order brain functions. So, what does this mean in terms of social media friends? Well, Robin Dunbar says, quote, "With social media, we can easily keep up with the lives and interests of far more than 150 people, but without investing the face-to-face time, we lack deeper connections to them, and the time we invest in superficial relationships comes at the expense of more profound ones." So it's really easy to accumulate friends on social media, which contributes to the massive amounts of irrelevant information that will pop up on your social media feed. So it's best to whittle, if you have social media, it's best to whittle down your friends till you have about 150, because in all seriousness, that's only how much your brain can have meaningful relationships with. So now, moving on to status updates. This is including stories and posts. These tend to be less meaningful to most individuals because the person who posted it is reaching a wider audience. And Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Snapchat, and WhatsApp have these have this kind of status update. These sites make it super easy to collect friends and followers, regardless of whether those friends and followers actually care that much about you. So this is one of the fundamental issues with social media. You are connected to a bunch of people where sometimes quite a lot of them don't really care as much about you as you think they do. If you don't believe me, keep listening. There's a comedian by the name of Zach Broussard, and this is him, and he's proposing to an actor. So it's a staged engagement. And the guy that's taking a photo, Zach uploaded it to his social media. And Zach has a girlfriend. He has a long-term girlfriend that he'd been dating for several years. And so he took this picture of this actor and then and him engaging to her. And then he posted it. And what do you know? He got hundreds of likes and several comments saying, "Congratulations, Zach." And no one seemed to understand. No one seemed to catch that it wasn't actually his girlfriend. It was an actor. And that just goes to show that sometimes people's reactions, it looks like they really care and stuff about the reaction, but actually they didn't even care enough to see that it wasn't his girlfriend. So this point is best explained by psychologist Emma Kenny. And she says, "We interpret the things that affect us differently to the things that affect others. If people like your posts, you believe it's because they have meaning. If you like theirs, a lot of the time, it's just because you feel like it's the correct behavior to display. There's a little bit of us that thinks our posts are more interesting than everybody else's, and so we believe the response we get is genuine and authentic, even if the one we're giving isn't." So next is one-click reactions, or likes. Likes are the shallowest part of social media. Studies have shown that people are more likely to like a post if that post already has a large number of likes and reactions. So it only takes one tap to like something, and there's little effort involved. It's not messy. It's not like giving somebody a word of affirmation. Some people find that difficult. But it's just one tap. It's really easy to do. It's not like messy, real conversation and real relationships. And generally, it doesn't really have much of a meaning. So, to sum it up, direct messages are generally mutually positive. Status updates are generally negative or irrelevant. And one-tap reactions are generally meaningless. Notice that I said generally. So, moving on to the design and effects. I'd like to share a few facts before I get into the design of social media, just to maybe, because I kind of like making people's jaws drop. So we'll share some facts here just to give you a bit of a threshold. As of last November, there are 7.6 billion people living in the world. So these are facts concerning social media. Oh my, I can't hardly read it. The average person spends just under 2 hours daily on social media. And now, in 1 second, 6,000 tweets are sent on Twitter. On YouTube, 5 hours of video are uploaded to YouTube every second. 1 year and 4 months of video are watched on YouTube every second. Instagram users post 1,100 photos every second. Social media in general collects 48,000 likes per second. That's to give you a bit of an idea how much consumers are using this type of this media. So you may be wondering how in the world is this possible? How in the world are there 1 year and 4 months of YouTube video watched every second? How in the world is that possible? Which then leads to a bigger question, which is, why does it feel so good? And the answer to that question is dopamine. Dopamine is a chemical produced by the brain that plays a big role in motivational behavior, memory, and in addictive habits. The brain releases dopamine when you're eating delicious food, when you get attention, when someone compliments you, when you learn something new, when you love someone, after you exercise, when you lust after someone, and concerning what I'll be talking about tonight, it gets released when you have successful social interaction. Your brain releases dopamine when it perceives some beneficial action, and since you get a good feeling afterwards, your body is motivated to do those same actions again and again to get more good feelings. This is why dopamine causes addictions. Say when you eat a chocolate bar, for example, you feel good because it tastes good. The repetition of that action will cause the brain to make a connection between the action and the good feeling afterwards. Consequently, dopamine works kind of like a little red flag to the brain. Just before you're about to experience something pleasurable, it says, "Hey brain, listen up, pay attention, something fun's going to happen very soon." So over repeated use, the brain pays attention and it recognizes that when you do this, then you'll get this good feeling. So dopamine plays a part in helping the brain remember that, and then it's then you do it over and over again because the brain remembers that feeling. So there's nothing wrong with this. God designed us this way. It's really good because there's good things out there that's good to be. It's good to remember, and maybe as a child you remember certain memories because they were really great or they felt really good, and dopamine played a part in helping you remember that. So even though God created this for good, our flesh desires wrong actions. Unfortunately, our brain doesn't know the difference between what is good and what is better. So in the case of social media, this is what happens. When you see a notification or you see a like, dopamine builds anticipation for the good feeling afterward and reinforces neuron connections in your brain, which essentially remember that when you see a notification, you'll feel good. And you feel good because opioids, neurochemicals which increase pleasure and deaden pain, cause a good feeling after dopamine, make sure the brain will remember how it got that good feeling. And when this happens, you're addicted. So now I've given you the basis for general addiction, but let's look a little closer at how social media was, is, and is being designed to be extremely addictive. So let's start with this example. Say you post a selfie on Facebook. Nice selfie. Looks, great. You know your brain is already trained to know that when you post a nice selfie, then it'll get likes and you're gonna feel good. So after posting the selfie, you go back and check it every 5 minutes to see if you got more likes. Even though notifications will tell you when you get likes, you still go back to it just to make sure. So every time you check it, dopamine is released because the brain anticipates that you'll get a good feeling. But you keep on going back to it, and you only got like 1 or 2 likes. Like, what's happening? It's been on for 15 minutes and there's only like 1 or 2 likes. And your brain's kind of perplexed. Like, what in the world? What's happening? But after a while, your brain stops releasing dopamine because it no longer anticipates a good feeling. And so you start getting, and then after that happens, all of a sudden, you start getting a ton of likes and stuff all at once, just spurts and spurts and spurts. And your brain releases a load of dopamine, and you feel good, and your brain remembers that experience. So what just happened? I don't know if you've ever experienced something like this, but what Facebook just did is exposed a vulnerability in human psychology, so you would spend as much time as possible on your phone. What Facebook's computer programmers just did is analyze your past behavior, and with that knowledge, it held back actual likes that people had submitted and waited to give them to you until you were least expecting it. And in so doing, it got you to waste moments of your time checking for notifications or checking Facebook, and notifications that won't come in direct sequence. In this way, Facebook will keep your brain guessing by balancing reward with no activity. This is the reason why people will open up the social media apps and check for anything new, even when there's no notifications. When notifications come at unpredictable intervals, we're constantly hopping from one distraction to another. And this is how social media companies make money. They push ads in their apps, and the best way to make money through the ads is to get people to be looking at the ads as much as possible. So Facebook, along with almost every other social media platform, uses this. And if you don't believe me, here's a man by the name of Sean Parker. He's the ex-president of Facebook, one of the people that worked alongside Mark Zuckerberg in getting the whole thing together. And he's speaking about how he made it addicting. And I hope you can hear this. You can. Oops. Yeah, let me check that.
It's usually on silent.
Just,
Huh?
so I have to unplug your mic
Oh,
to play this. Okay.
okay. Come on. Here we go.
If the thought process that went into building these applications, Facebook being the first of them, to really understand it, that thought process was all about how we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible. And that means that we need to sort of give you a little dopamine hit every once in a while, because someone liked or commented on a photo or a post or whatever. And that's going to get you to contribute more content, and that's going to get you, more likes and comments. And it's a social validation feedback loop that it's like it's exactly the kind of thing that a hacker like myself would come up with, because you're exploiting vulnerability in human psychology. And I think that we inventors, creators, it's me, it's Mark, it's Kevin's sister on Instagram, it's all of these people, understood this consciously, and we did it anyway.
So there's the face of Facebook itself saying how it created it. And almost all social media apps use this to make money. So now, besides dopamine, and brain science, I'd like to draw your attention to a few of the little designs in social media that unconsciously keep us there for much longer than we ever imagined. So it's no big secret that social media sites borrow gambling design techniques from Vegas gambling designers. For example, you probably recognize this. Pull down to refresh. That's something that's borrowed from the slot machine. You pull down on the lever on the slot machine, and you have to wait a little bit until you get until you get something, until you get your answer. And it's the same with your phone. You pull down, and sometimes you get rewarded, and sometimes you don't. But more often than not, you don't. And that's even though that happens. Oops, I got messed up here. Immediately after pulling down, we either get a reward or nothing. We don't know when we'll be rewarded, and more often than not, we don't find anything interesting or gratifying, much like gambling. But that's precisely what brings us back in 10 minutes. So another thing that social media uses is something called infinite scrolling. You've been on most social media sites have this, where you can just scroll and it'll just continually load more and more content. If you have enough friends, it'll just continually load content basically forever, and it's a way in which you keep looking, and that also goes back to the slot machine where it spins for a really long time before you get anything. So, also notification dots. You ever wonder why they're red? That's so that you look at them. It's like a stop sign. That's why stop signs are red, because they draw your attention, and especially notification dots with numbers. If you ever look at a slot machine, it's got all sorts of bright colors on it. It's really attractive as far as grabbing your attention, and they designed the notifications to also look like that. So now, moving on from design, I'd like to talk about the effects all this has on people. So let's begin with fragmentation and distraction. So the average person checks his phone every 12 minutes. And it takes an average of 25 minutes to regain full concentration on one task after being distracted. The result of these repetitive distractions can permanently change our brain. They make us less productive at work. Studies have shown at work, when you get an email, you lose your concentration, and it'll take up to 25 minutes for you to regain your full concentration into what you were doing. So, social media, it reduces our ability to concentrate or think deeply. It also tends to socially isolate its users. A study a few years back showed that more time spent on Facebook was proportionate to the amount of loneliness and sadness a person felt. Also, in 2012, the psychology department at Michigan State University found that social media is linked to symptoms of social anxiety and depression in college students. The study monitored around 300 students' social media use. Those who multitasked had a higher rate of depression and feelings of anxiety. Another thing social media tends to encourage is a narcissistic spirit among its users. So narcissism is defined as excessive or erotic interest in oneself and one's physical appearance. So traits of a person that is a narcissist are self-sufficiency, vanity, leadership, and admiration demand. So if you don't know, if you want a good example for a narcissist, here's Donald Trump, and he is definitely a narcissist. He says, it is very hard for them to attack me on looks because I am so good looking. That is a very narcissistic phrase. So, narcissism is a psychological disorder that keeps a person from having meaningful relationships and or working a normal job. Obviously, simply having some of these traits doesn't mean you're a narcissist. Excessive selfie-taking doesn't mean you're a narcissist. But social media encourages that narcissistic spirit. So this is how anyone can broadcast themselves or their opinions, whether they're qualified or not. They get feedback from people that they don't know or really care about. There's only a few of them that really do. their dopamine feedback loop makes a big deal about all these people they don't care about reacting, and they think they're important. The spirit of narcissism is quite evident in excessive selfie sharing, YouTube comment wars. For those of you who can't read it, it says meanwhile at the YouTube comment section, and that's a war zone. And also, it's evident in the inability of Facebook friends to sympathize with you. Narcissism isn't as prevalent in Anabaptist circles, so I won't spend more time on it. And also, in case you were wondering that N equals S times H, that's narcissism equals selfies per hour, but that's not anything. That's not anything actually true or anything. That's just something made up by somebody. It's kind of fun. So far I've spoken about the way social media is designed to exploit vulnerabilities in human mankind and the negative effects that it has on us. But is there anything positive in social media? Yes. Social media is positive if used in the correct way, and it's negative if it uses us in the incorrect way. Let me make an analogy. Okay, so let's say there's this man, we'll call him Mr. Delusion. Every weekend he goes to party with his friends, and at every party he gets stone drunk. Afterwards, he goes home and tells his wife that he had meaningful time with his friends, building relationships and connecting with them. Yet he obviously wasn't. He was stone drunk, good grief. We know that what little good happened to Mr. Delusion was largely overshadowed by the negative effects of excess drinking. And yet we often are like Mr. Delusion. When social media makes us fast addicts, and when using it is a compulsive action instead of mindful use, believe me, it doesn't take more than 2 weeks for this to happen. And I've been at this point before. When we're at that point, sometimes we say, well, I get to connect with my friends in other states and countries, and I can share interesting things about life, and I can share inspirational quotes, and I can affirm other people's lives, and I can, that's positive, right? Right? Yes, those things are positive. But if you are addicted to your smartphone, those are lame excuses. They're lame. Because there are so many good things that are in the way of that. There's so many better things. I can call a person right now and do all those things. I can meet a friend one-to-one at the coffee shop and do all those things. I can go to a social event and do all those things. And how are all these things? They are so positive. So why do we trade God's original design of social interaction to a counter design made by man? Social media is that counter design, and it is destroying us. I believe that social media can be used as a useful and productive tool if you are the one in control. It's the imbalance which is bad and so easy to fall into. So, now maybe you're like, well, I'm addicted to social media, but what are some ways that I can curb the pull? So, one thing you can do to make your social media interactions less addictive is to disable all your notifications. Oh, whoops. Disable all your notifications. Most notifications are quite irrelevant, and disabling notifications will keep you from getting pulled out of whatever you're concentrating on at the moment. Also, another thing you can do, which is a bit more extreme, is enabling grayscale. Most smartphones have this nowadays. It basically makes your phone black and white so your eyes aren't distracted by the attractive colors. So I'm going to show you how this looks. Never mind. I thought I could do it easily. Okay. Well, you can kind of see there. So grayscale, it basically makes everything black and white. And what that does is, you know how I talked about notifications earlier and how attractive they are. It makes everything so it just looks kind of blah, and it doesn't. You can't distinguish between what looks attractive and what's not attractive, and so then you aren't distracted by what's so attractive. So another thing you can do is just be mindful about your use. Get a screen tracking app that tracks how much time you're on your phone and things like that. Or get a screensaver like this that says stop looking at your phone. Look around you. So I'm just going to share now a little bit of personally what I've done. So on my phone I've had Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, and Messenger, and I consider those would probably be the only social media, mainstream social media that's on my phone. So I was pretty addicted to YouTube, watching YouTube, wasting a ton of my time, and so I just disabled it, and now that temptation is gone. Also Facebook, I got pretty annoyed at Facebook because of something that happened. I'm not going to share that with you, but I got annoyed at it, so I erased it, and I managed my Facebook page from a special app that Facebook makes to manage Facebook pages. So I never had a problem wasting time on Facebook though. It was YouTube that really sucked my time. So WhatsApp, I'm going to talk a little bit about WhatsApp. I believe WhatsApp was designed to be not as addictive as other social media. It is still addictive. You can still get addicted to WhatsApp, but its design is more conducive to meaningful virtual relationships. But if you want to know more about WhatsApp, you can ask me about it later. So I'm going to show you another video. This is a video, it's an interview of a man by the name of, see if I can say this right, okay. Kamath Palihapitiya. I'm not sure where he came from, but he's an ex-Facebook executive. So he was around back with Mark Zuckerberg, Sean Parker, the guy in the other video. So, we'll play this.
You restarted.
You were making about exploiting consumer behavior in a consumer business. You said that this is a time for soul searching in social media businesses, and you were part of building the largest one. What soul searching are you doing right now?
I feel tremendous good. I think we all knew the back of our minds, even though we feigned this whole life, but probably all.
Turn it down once. I can put captions for this video real quick here, so you can see what he's talking about. Turn it off then too. So, my challenge for you all this morning is this. I know for a fact that none of you drink. I know that. So, why then do you allow your life to be controlled by something that basically has the same effect on your brain? Social media has told us since its birth that it can replace real social interaction, but it's a lie from Satan himself. Drinking has been around for thousands of years, and Anabaptists have decided that it's too addictive to allow in their standards. So if that is so, here's a question I want to leave with you. For the past hour, we've been hearing the addictive, negative effects of social media. We know that it is so hard to rein in social media and alcohol addictions. What will it take for us as Anabaptists to ban something that is just as addictive as alcohol? Something just as brain-altering? Something just as destructive? Something just as negative? Something just as positive? Something that was designed to cheat God's pure and beautiful original design for us humans. What will it take?
Thank you, Justin. This time we'll dismiss the preschool and primary class and their teachers. Mark, are you going to be using... Okay, I'm going to move this back over here again. Maybe. Wilbur, would you mind getting the knife and cutting and disconnecting these things?
He said he wanted to leave.
Okay, sir. Thank you. All right. What would you like to discuss?
I don't think I heard this today, but I wonder if it shouldn't be added. There's often a level of maliciousness that can go into social media because there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect there in the comments. You mentioned that just now.
No, the issue of narcissism being prevalent in common words.
I mean, it fits in with the whole anti-social thing or whatever, the whole breakdown of social.
desensitizes your emotions. So,
You're more willing to say things that you would face to face.
I thought it was just comment. I thought it was interesting what you said about using your attention or after checking your phone. It takes 25 minutes to get back to full concentration. I testified at school in the morning, like studying my lessons, and I have my phone on yesterday and I see a notification on it. Like it just kind of derails me for a little while. And so I just needed it more. Just having out of sight, out of mind helps so much. Keep my attention focused on it.
By the way, there will be a time for testimonies after Mark's message, so if you want to share testimony, or this might be a time of discussing in general, but there'll also be a time when you can share things personal that you might have learned or picked up this weekend. And maybe Steve, why don't we set instruction, or why don't we set, say that 25 after we'll dismiss Sunday school, just cut it a little shorter.
I feel like I missed the part where we heard the good part of social media, that because there's not much.
the reason I didn't talk more about positive social media is because because I feel like usually when we talk about social media, we talk too much about it.
It's kind of like, last night it was kind of hard to hear many positives about me. It's kind of the same. Like there's better.
Yeah.
And so it's not really a true positive.
If you're a Christian and you're using social media and you can control it, I did say that if you're controlling it, then it can be positive. But I feel that so many of us, when I say that, may be still addicted. So I can't.
How do we get over addiction?
There are some symptoms if you think you hear notifications. This is if you're extremely addicted, but if you think you're hearing notifications or if you think you feel your phone vibrating in your pocket, and also just if you're bored and your first inclination is to get on your smartphone and check Facebook, or if it's basically your first. If you can really tell if you have a screen tracker that tracks the time you spend on your phone, then you can tell if you're addicted. If you spend more than 20 minutes a day on Facebook, I would say you're addicted. Unless you have a very good reason.
Let's have more input on that. How do you know if you're addicted? Mark, what did you say?
I said try doing without.
Okay.
I've recently noticed, well, I don't know if it was very recent, but I noticed the feeling right before it's the dopamine, obviously, right before I open something like that. And it just made me really mad because I just realized I haven't even seen anything yet. I have no idea what's going to be there when I open up this app, but I'm already excited. And that just made me really mad because I realized that that's addiction.
I think that probably if you get the urge to check your phone, and then how hard it is to like resist that urge is probably a good indicator too.
Let's get a different perspective. How do you know that somebody's addicted to drinking? They have to have it? Okay.
If they're feeling lonely or something, that's what they go to.
Okay.
They're feeling the guilt if anybody asks about it.
They feelings of guilt, so you might be kind of defensive? Okay.
We use the cage question here. One of them is you need an eye opener in the morning. So if you need it, you need it early in the day. Most people drink late in the day. Once you're an alcoholic, a lot of times we'll need it early in the morning.
Very interesting.
A lot of people check their phone first thing in the morning, so.
And I didn't check my phone the first thing in the morning and we didn't find out that school was canceled.
people are addicted to smartphones.
I have experienced that phantom vibration. I'm just curious, who all has? Do you know what we're talking about?
I have.
The what? What do you call it?
Phantom vibration.
What do you mean?
Where you think you felt your phone vibrate.
Oh, yes.
And there wasn't anything.
If you always have your phone on vibrator, then it might happen anyway now. What? Well, yeah, like, I usually keep my phone on vibrator, so I sometimes, no, I don't have social media.
Not that I'm wondering, that was just I was just kind of a sarcastic thing, but you have it in your pocket, so often it vibrates, you find your whole body just senses the vibration setting. I don't know, that's...
I think you're addicted every time you sit down. That's the first thing you do.
It used to be magazine racks in the bathrooms.
It still is, Mark.
So, one thing that I've noticed is, when we talk about Facebook, because it's the biggest social media thing, but the question is bigger than just Facebook, because you can try to do without it, and you can do without it, and you can get rid of it. But then what are you doing with that time? In fact, it's bigger than even just a smartphone, although that's the big thing that we're facing right now.
I agree with you. I really think the smartphone might almost be the bigger problem than even Facebook.
Well, it's even bigger than that, because if I look back to before I had a smartphone, I was still doing the same thing, but it was with a book or a magazine.
I agree. I also think, though, that a book and a magazine isn't quite as addicting as a smartphone.
There's more positive there, but if you're clocking out with a book and you don't want to help your family, then you have the same problem. Well, maybe not exactly the same.
It's not the same, it still shows feedback, but it's still
But by saying that, I wasn't trying to distract you from the smartphone.
But it's not going to fix the problem just by getting rid of your smartphone, you're saying, right? Or getting rid of Facebook.
Right. More I was thinking going back to it's bigger than Facebook. It's your...
If you're trying to fill a void, you can't. Anything you try and use to fill it is not going to work.
Yeah, Jason talked about last night when he watched movies when there was a void to fill when he was had a problem. But then when he fixed that, then it fixed his movie problem. And I totally agree with that. There's some things that I need to say.
Well, this is just kind of a comment I've noticed. So I don't have a smartphone, but I have an iPad, we have Wi-Fi. It's basically the same thing at home. But at home, I have that, I want to check my we go on a trip, and I really don't even miss it. So what is that? Is it because I'm having, what is that? Because my time is filled with other things?
Is it like the option of having candy in the cupboard, and if it's there, then you want to eat it, but if it's not there, then it's yeah. Like the accessibility, which is why smartphones make it so much easier if you're carrying them all the time.
I was reading a book about it's called Finish by Johnny Huff, and he talks about shortcuts, that you should use shortcuts to get to your goals. And one of the shortcuts is if you're having trouble with something like social media distracting you, the shortcut is to get rid of it. And there's nothing wrong with that. It might not be the answer to your problem, but it's a shortcut to get where you want to go.
I like that.
There's one other thing that I'm not sure that Justin shared or not, but I researched some of it, thinking of using social media, how it affects different people. For instance, take an introverted person that is that doesn't socialize good face to face can very easily do it on Facebook or Snapchat or whatever it is, and it makes the person actually go deeper into injury because the person can say that on Facebook, but he would not socialize well from a person face to face. That was one thing I thought, there's truth to that. It does make so that a person doesn't socialize face to face as well.
There's a fact in my research I have in common, and that is that introverts are more likely to be addicted to social media. It's usually extroverts. I'm not saying introverts don't get addicted. They get addicted. Most of the people that are talking about how social media just isn't as good as real conversation and people that have physical touch with their love language. Those are the kind of people that usually are speaking up against how it's.
It's interesting.
I think sometimes it's easy to focus on the addiction and then say social media is addictive, and then we don't see why we're addicted as much, because if we don't I was listening to some of my messages, and he was talking about addiction comes when we don't feel God's love, and sometimes we try to fix the addiction by cutting off what we're addicted to, and then it just turns to something else, and then we become addicted to something else. So maybe the root is we have to fix the root issue, not just the.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? So, I'm not going to ask you, but how many do you think you might be addicted to social media or your smartphone, etc.? And if this is true, if this is a bigger issue than just it's a smartphone problem and getting rid of the smartphone is the problem, what does that say about our spiritual lives? And really, what are we going to do about it? Because if we believe what Caleb said, then it's almost like, I remember, I have many friends that talked about how, the frustration with church using things and laws and standards to control people. And it seemed like we try to fix the appearance or what something appears to be, but we don't dive into what the real issue is down deep inside. So I think that's an important question. I'd like to hear some more input about that.
I think it generally does work that way, that there's something deeper. And sometimes we can end up basically, what we're doing is cutting off bad fruit from the tree, and we should go see what's wrong with the roots. I think that's what I've experienced. Maybe just a little bit of balance to that. On the other hand, sometimes I felt like people kind of say that if you're just spiritual enough, then you don't have to worry about things like your smartphone or something like that. I think we do have to be willing to take very practical steps in an area that we're struggling with. There has to be a certain amount of balance. We're going to do something practical about it, but we're not going to depend on that alone to finish the problem.
Mm-hmm.
The alcoholic can't just become a Christian.
I guess one thing that I experienced in the recent past was, especially in the morning when I prepare to get ready for work. Before I go to work, I have my personal church. And all the time where I putting social media or whatever it is in front of my personal time with God. You know, I do at times use my my Bible on my phone. But my thing that I have to do myself is I have to discipline myself. Instead of trying to look up all the notifications have my priorities first on having my personal connection with God instead of that having my first thing. That's something I have to do with myself. I think it's a personal thing. We need to want to do that. Have a personal connection first.
One thing that I think has been tried off and has failed. So Justin, at the end, you said you talked a little bit about us as Anabaptists. You know, what's it going to take for us to get to ban something or get rid of something that can be addicting? And I don't think the answer is making a rule saying that nobody's allowed smartphones. I think one of our struggles is, and I know for me, I'm sure it's for you too, is that we don't like to, or it's hard for us, it's difficult for us to assess where we're at and make changes just by ourselves. The problem with a lot of people is that if I decide that I'm addicted and I want to get rid of the smartphone, for some reason there's something inside of us that says, well, you have to too. All of you have to too. And so if half of us are addicted to smartphones and we say it's better off for us not to have smartphones, so we're going to make a rule and ban it, you're not fixing the problem. In fact, you're not taking responsibility for yourself. And that's an area where I feel all of us have a weakness in. I do for sure. What I would like to see happen is where people take responsibility and be open and honest with where I'm at. If you're addicted to Facebook, I think all of you, deep down inside, just like the one man from Facebook said, deep down inside somewhere, they knew what they were doing was going to create a problem. But they weren't willing to make the right decision. And I think all of us deep down inside know where we're at. The question really is going to be, are you willing to take personal responsibility for yourself and make the right decision for you, without trying to either one, force it on everybody else, or two, say, because they don't, I'm not going to either, and basically make an excuse for yourself.
One thing that I've been convicted of is, so when we talk about the Holy Spirit fruit, oftentimes we start with love, joy, peace, patience, and it's about better to stop talking about it. One of the Holy Spirit fruits is self-control. And I just like to see that a lot more to this kind of thing, because, social media is addictive, and I think it pulls us in, and a lot of us have way too little of that fruit of the Spirit. It becomes very evident. It becomes evident how often we practice spiritual disciplines too. You can't practice spiritual disciplines, reading the Word, praying, fasting, silence. Probably assigning people of the Spirit.
Do you have anything more to say, Kayla, about, what else did you learn that you could help us with? Okay.
One of the things is true that we're scared of real relationships. That's one of the big things with social media. And that's why we go to fake relationships, because we're scared of being honest with each other.
I think the thing of good, better, best also be applied to almost all the topics this weekend, including here, like, in my favorite to use social media for purposes. But a real relationship with God is so much better. I don't know, a perfect relationship with God is best. It might be good. There might be nothing wrong with having a Facebook page. But there might be something a whole lot better.
I completely agree with what you said. In fact, I think sometimes the easy thing to do is just to say, we're not going to do it.
Because then we don't have to talk about it anymore, right?
At the same time, I would be excited to see a group of people, whether it's a whole church or part of the church, get together and say, for this next month, it's going to be bye-bye. And instead, every time we're tempted, what we're going to do is we're going to spend time being mindful about our relationship to God or whatever.
Oh, are you wanting to? You wanting to put your money where your mouth is?
I have a plan that this other youth group in Tennessee came up with. It's a 6-month plan, and it goes way beyond just. I'm on it a little bit, not super committed, but I've been on social media for 2 months.
So maybe at testimony time, would you share with us what that's done for you?
Sure.
You have some time to think about it. Didn't I like that idea, and I think we need to keep talking about that because different people different people are different. For example, my wife and I, when we make goals, let's just say, we feel like we've been overeating and we want to just, whether it's a simple diet or something, okay? The way I do it is, I don't tell anybody, and there's almost like this personal drive to where I want the pleasure of being able to say, I went a whole month without eating sugar or whatever. Or, my wife, that doesn't work. If she doesn't tell somebody and, it's not going to last long. So, I'm guessing probably the way we approach something like that might be different, but I also think a month might not be enough. If I understand right, things like addictions, etc., your brain kind of programs, and if I remember right, it takes 3 months to reprogram. So I would say 1 month would probably give you a good indication about if you're addicted or not. If you really want to change, I would say you probably need to do 3 months, or maybe 6 months. Do what?
I'm doing 5.
You're doing it for 5 months?
I mean, that's the plan.
That's the plan, huh?
I was just thinking aloud. Time period was really meaning.
Yeah.
Now, with what Kayla shared, and you might not really have time to do it now, kind of brings the question to my mind, what are reasons why we might not feel God's love or believe God's love that drives us to if we lost it, how do we get it back?
Yeah, we probably really don't have time to dive deep into that. But I think maybe at least being aware of that. I think that's something that we need to look at and I'm not quite sure how to answer that. In relation, it really a lot of that points to your relationship, because it points to your relationship with God, and it points to your relationship with people. And there's two ways that can be addressed. One is if somebody's willing to be open and vulnerable to somebody else, that's a good start. The other way is if somebody recognizes it, if you see that in your brother or sister, then you love them enough to pursue them. And I think that's at least a start to get down to. Because I'm guessing the root cause can be different for different people. I don't think it's one root cause. It can be a bitterness against God for something that happened. It could be a bitterness against your parents. It could be something happened to you. It could be a lot of different things that are the root cause. But it takes love and vulnerability to get down to that. Thank you. We'll turn the time over to Steve.
Preschool, you want to come up and say your memory words? Let's turn to number 81. Someone start that.
Blessed Savior, and that you found me.
This time we'll have announcements, and one of the announcements is Jamin gave me some papers to pass out. This is the mission statement for the Shalom School. Wilbur, if you want to come up here, pass these out. They would like to have these back today, if possible. If not, for sure by next Sunday. While he passes those out, I'll open it for other announcements. For those of you who weren't here last night, Jason was voted in as a new school board member.
I asked to return
No midweek service this week? Okay.
I asked to return for my mom. She's, I don't know if everybody knows her, she's in a wheelchair. For my two sisters that are still at home. They're at home with her.
Pray for Steve, mother especially, and also Steve and the rest of the family.
We found a book at our house, missionary stories with the Millers, that we don't know who it is, it doesn't have a name, but it's somebody in the church that's been lost in family.
Thank you. There's a book, Missionary Stories with Millers, that did not have a name in, that was left in Luke, so they put it back in the Lost and Found. Alright, like you mentioned, Mark will have the message today. Jamin is preaching next Sunday, followed by Luke. Offering next Sundays for school. I think that's all we have. While we stand for word of prayer. Thank you, Father, for being here, and I ask that you continue to work in our hearts and help us to be wise as the Bible has asked us, and pray for Mark that he would be able to share what you've put on his heart and also give us some direction for the question of what do we do now, where do we go from here. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Good morning. So, where do we go from here? What's next? After we've been educated, after we know a little bit more about it, what now? I'm going to take the long road around. I'm going to talk about some things that may seem a little bit irrelevant at first glance, but I'm going to try to bring everything together. So if you can do your best to give me your attention, I'll try not to lose you. Worship. We talked about in Sunday school. Most of you aren't in youth Sunday school. It's only a very small class anymore. I mean, in the adult class. And we're going through Hebrews, where it talks about having been granted access to the inner sanctuary by the blood of Christ. And how that God's work, Jesus' work on the cross, opened that for us to where the old is behind us. There's a new covenant. There's a new relationship that we can enter into with God Himself through Jesus. And there is where we worship. In that inner sanctuary, in the very presence of God. Worship, this is ironically or I say ironic, that's not the right word. It's a quote that one of my friends from Ohio sent me last night. And it fits the bill for this today. Worship is not the slow song that the choir sings. Worship is not the amount you place in the offering basket. Worship is not volunteering in children's church. Yes, these may be acts or expressions of worship, but they do not define what true worship really is. There are numerous definitions of the word worship. And the one from Webster's in 1828 is... Okay, yet one definition in particular encapsulates the priority we should give to worship as a spiritual discipline. Worship, this is the definition, worship is to honor with extravagant love and extreme submission. Worship is to honor with extravagant love and extreme submission. We hear about excuses, well, that's too extreme. And that's extreme. Let's not be extreme. Worship is an extreme experience. Everything about the gospel, everything about Jesus is extreme. True worship, in other words, is defined by the priority we place on who God is in our lives and where God is on our list of priorities. True worship is a matter of the heart expressed through a lifestyle of holiness. So let's talk a little bit about holiness. In Psalm 24, it asks the question, who shall ascend unto the hill of the Lord? Who shall stand in his holy place? He that hath clean hands and a pure heart, who hath not lifted up his soul unto vanity, nor sworn deceitfully, he shall receive the blessing from the Lord and righteousness from the God of his salvation. So when we come to God, especially if we, so right now, a lot of us have a decision to make, one way or the other. How do we make that decision? I believe the first thing is to maintain that attitude and lifestyle and posture of worship and holiness before God. Realizing that we are in the presence of God. And if we approach God with a request, we're asking for direction, we're asking for wisdom. There's a criteria that has to be met before I think God will give us what we're asking for. And that is in this verse. Now, please don't take me to say that we can't come to God unless we're clean. That's not what I'm trying to say. We can come to God however we are. I'm specifically talking about if we have a request, we're asking for wisdom, God requires us to, the principle of being faithful with little before we can be faithful with much. We need to be pure, we need to be utilizing what we already know. We need to have clean hands and a pure heart. Who hath not lifted up his soul unto vanity. That phrase jumped out to me last night. We heard a lot this weekend about vain things. And how those things, whether it's movies or music or social media, how they play on our emotions. And our soul, it's been called the seat of our emotions. So are we lifting up our soul into vanity when when we allow these things to control our emotions, to come inside of us and to change who we are. It says the person that has not done that may ascend into the hill of the Lord. And when we come to God asking for direction, asking for wisdom, we have to be empty. Empty of ourselves, empty of any bias, empty of any opinion, and willing to act upon whatever we receive from God. And that's a tough one. It's not easy to, before we know what we're going to be asked to do, to be willing to do it. That's vulnerability at its highest. And it is good for us. Not yet. So, more on holiness. In Zechariah 14, 20 and 21, it says, "In that day, holiness of the Lord shall be on the fold of the horses. The pots in the Lord's house shall be like the bowls before the altar. Yes, every pot in Jerusalem and Judah shall be holiness unto the Lord of hosts." Down to the very pots that they used to cook with shall be holiness unto the Lord. Can we go home and we can